on.
And he was easiest.
Not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17, not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17, not admitted without parents or guardian.
Good evening, fans of fantastic films.
Welcome once again to the Drive-In Asylum Double Feature. I'm Bill Van Ryn from fanzine Drive-In Asylum. And with me on tonight's program, you'll also find the Mike Justice, author, director, and overall super cool dude. Welcome, Mike.
Hi. I thought you were about to say an owner of, and I was like, what's he going to say?
We don't know who you own, so,
Right.
we don't want to say anything about that.
I had a boss actually put a slave contract in the Dropbox that we used to exchange clips when I was editing for him. And I thought it was meant for me, but it was actually, he just stuck it in. It was embarrassing.
You might have someone in the cage in your basement, like American Horror Story.
I don't know. The floor in the basement is like this thin where I live. Like they'd make too much noise.
Yeah. Are you watching American Horror Story, the new one?
No, I never watched those until a year later when they get to Netflix. The last one I saw was the 1984 one, and it was a year after it premiered.
Oh yeah, I like that one. I like
Hmm.
1984. I thought it was really good.
What's the new
Um,
one about?
it's all about New York in 1981, and it's very gay centric. They did scenes straight out of Cruising in the first two episodes. There's a lot of elements of Cruising. Um, there's a disease element, like a Cronenberg thing. They're addressing AIDS. They're addressing excess. It's really kind of edgy, or at least Ryan Murphy edgy. So I don't know. There's a lot of explicit sex in it too. The kind that William Friedkin really didn't want to show in Cruising. So,
Wait, like
or he
there's
did want to
fisting?
show it. They
They show
cut it.
fisting on American Horror Story?
No, there's implications though that really scandalous things are going on. So it's good
Is
though. I like it, and it's well written as always. They're always good at the beginning every season, and then how long it stays good, that's debatable. So
yeah, the only one I didn't watch Hotel. I watched the first couple episodes and I was like, no. And
yeah,
Roanoke wore me out. I was on board with Roanoke and on its side up until like 3/4 of the way through, and I was like, I can't keep up. There's too many like people. There's too much meta going on. So, but I liked
yeah,
Cult a lot.
yeah. I
And
liked Cult
the
too.
Armageddon, was that the one it was called, or Apocalypse or something? It was that one was
Apocalypse.
surprisingly good. 1984 was amazing. So
Yeah, I thought 1984 was pretty moving. I cried at the end.
I actually got kind of teary eyed when yeah, it was at some point it was like there was this Carrie Fisher's daughter is a ghost and she's hanging out with this guy and he's talking about how it sucks after she died and he's like, nobody wants to do coke anymore. And I was like, no, you're right. The 80s are gone.
There's a reason for that.
Right. But it was weird thing to get misty eyed about, but he kind of hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So anyway, Sam Panico's not on tonight's program. He originally had a Halloween party that he was going to attend tonight, and I guess it's okay to say this on the air, since a lot of you are friends with Sam on Facebook, and he made a public announcement already. His dad passed away yesterday, so many condolences to Sam. We miss you. We love you. Take care of yourself and your family, and you'll be back on the show in a couple of days. We're actually going to do the show on Monday night on Halloween. We're going to watch an Andy Milligan film. The rats are coming. The werewolves are here.
Oh yeah, you showed a trailer for that.
Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
see it again too on
Okay.
tonight's program.
Oh man, that one's a slog. I'll be here for it though.
Well, Scott Porter said you have an awesome costume.
Well, because you're including me in where he says awesome costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but I could not get a costume. I got this chevron hat and this Dr. Jekyll's Dungeon of Death shirt. So
I worked very hard on this costume today. I'll have you know, I was chasing makeup everywhere, and you just can't find it here in Pittsburgh right now. It's strange. All of the chains like Target, they didn't have very big Halloween sections this year. At least the ones I went into didn't. It's like it was almost like they were hiding their Halloween merch. And
Well, they also don't get more during, like they'll get their Halloween stuff at the beginning of Halloween and then slowly sell out of it. So everywhere I went today that had Halloween stuff, it looked like chain supply problems. Like they were missing 3/4 of it because they're trying to sell out so they don't have to keep any for next year, I guess.
Dan, the Halloween show is going to be at 9 p.m. on Monday night. We're only going to watch one movie, and it's pretty short, so we won't ask for much of your evening. As much as you're willing to give to us, we'll take. And you'll see new costumes too. I'm going to be in a different costume. I don't know if Sam's going to be in costume, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to take these teeth out because they kind of make me sound funny. Anyhow, what's new with you, Mike Justice?
Nothing. So tonight, this is going to be my first time watching these Bat movies. Bats are kind of like, you know how you guys are always talking about how movies made you think quicksand was going to be a bigger part of your adult life? Like movies always made me think that I was going to encounter bats and they were going to be in the house or in the garden, or that they were going to be this menace that I was always going to like periodically have to confront. And I've like never seen a bat in real life. So
really, you've never seen one in real life?
I'm far away. I've been in places where people have said, "Oh, there's bats nesting in that tree" or whatever, but I've never had one like go and like flap its wings in my face like they do in movies. And
one never got in your house?
Nope, never got in my house. Never flew, like I didn't have to throw a towel on it and then smoke a cigarette afterward.
Susie.
Yeah.
And on a restricted diet, they give you wine.
Restricted diet, they give you wine. She was so arch. Her roommate,
Sarah. I love Sarah. She has the rare ability to be bitchy and adorable at the same time.
I love how I was noticing when I finally ended up seeing the longer version of Creepers, when I got to see Phenomena, the first thing that came to mind is how there were extra scenes of girls being bitchy to each other. And I was like, I love how Dario Argento thinks that like teenage girls in a prep school would have nothing better to do than stick their tongues at each other and like taunt each other, like there's like, they're literally like, these actresses are like 22 years old and they're like, "Hey, Jennifer." It's like, okay.
Well, he wrote it for kids. He wanted to have 12-year-olds in the role.
Right. So and then just never updated it.
Yeah. That was, I mean, that's what he said in the all the documentaries, is that's why the sets were built so that the doorknobs were eye level, like you never encounter in real life. He wanted to make it seem like these girls were a lot younger than they were. But
squawk, squawk, squawk.
Mata Hari is going to file her report.
That voice actress will always just like, she sounds like a 45-year-old. And so she'll do
Carolyn Fonseca.
Yes, and she does everybody's voices in these movies, but like she always makes them sound preternaturally old. Like I think she also did the hooker in Torso. It's like, why do all the freaks show come my way?
Dude, she's in everything. Find me an Italian movie that had to be dubbed into English, and she will be on that soundtrack somewhere. I almost fell over. I work in a theater. I'm not going to say the name, but I was interacting with a customer who was. I saw their name, and their name was Carolyn Fonseca. And I was like, "Is it her? Could it be her? Could this be her?" I wanted to like call her. We had her phone number. I was like,
"Is it her?"
Call. I don't know. It could be.
Call her for some. Just call her and listen to her voice. Just be like, "Hi, I'm selling subscriptions to the Pittsburgh something or whatever." And
I don't think we'll do a subscription now. But give me some time to think it over.
I IMDb'd her, and she's in some movies, like not as a voice actress, but just as an actress. I'm dying to see her talk. I want to see her. Like, I think she's in Once Upon a Time in America. I feel like every time that one of those voice actors was in something, it was in Once Upon a Time in America. It's like the biggest American, biggest movie filmed in Italy that was supposed to be set in America. So every American voice actor was in it.
Thanks to everyone for comments about my costume. These are my real ears. I just sort of like used some makeup. This is what I really look like. I took all the filters off the camera tonight.
Yeah, and you didn't pin them back today like you normally do. Yeah.
We have 2 crazy Bat movies on the program tonight, and I've been looking forward to this. As if you couldn't tell, I've been oversaturating social media with ads for tonight's show because I was so excited to do these movies. These are two of my all-time faves, and I'm excited you're going to be seeing them for the first time because I really want to get your opinion. Chosen Survivors, that's the first one, so I guess that's what we'll talk about first. Chosen Survivors was directed by Sutton Rowley, who was also the director of Satan's Triangle, that terrifying TV movie with Kim Novak. Have you seen that one?
No, I remember there was maybe like a little still from it or something in some horror movie book that I had as a kid.
Yeah. Kim Novak grinning.
Yeah, it might have been like not a, like I think it was in the fantasy and sci-fi and horror film book or something that's like long out of print. And it was Kim Novak like holding her shoulders on a boat and looking sort of perturbed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That was earlier in the program. It's really a very scary movie. I think it's for it's one of those movies where you're like, oh, this is a TV movie. This is really creepy, and it's just sort of uncomfortable because it's set on a small yacht. A small, I don't even know if it's a yacht. I'm not really all that great with boats, but it's a little bit smaller than would be comfortable for a long journey. And somehow they're out in the middle of the ocean and they're deep sea fishing and things start to happen. And I was like, God, being stuck on this teeny tiny little boat in the middle of nowhere in the ocean, that's a scary idea.
Yeah, no, I don't like boats. Everybody I know who has a boat has some story about how it tipped over once when they were sleeping and it filled up with water. And I'm like, I just don't want to be anywhere where water can just abruptly fill my room. So
yeah, that's kind of terrifying. Or like, I've seen the Poseidon Adventure. We can just say it.
That would be fun. See, the thing is, I wouldn't want, if you're on a small boat that capsizes in the ocean, then it's basically you just suffering alone. If you're on a giant ship and there's, you all have to climb through an upside down ballroom and swim through this or that, at least you're all kind of sharing in the misery.
Plus, it's you fun get to meet if you're Hackman. It's not fun if you're Winters.
No, but you get to meet all sorts of fun people that you wouldn't normally meet because the class barriers break down and a thing like that. So you get to meet opera singers and like pill addicted soap opera actresses and who else.
That's just like the rich. I mean, the minute that the poor people's quarters are now at the top of the boat, now you want to now that's where you want to go. You don't want to stay where you started out.
Fucking NIMBYism, like.
So I think I got Shelley Winters confused, the two movies. I think I was thinking of Airport 77, where she had to swim a long distance underwater. And
no, that was Poseidon.
Was it Poseidon Adventure? I get those two movies mixed
up. She wasn't the one who was swimming in Airport 77. I remember I saw when I was a kid, and it scared the shit out of me because it looked really claustrophobic. They were all trapped underwater, and I was a huge fan of Jaws at the time, so I was just waiting. I was actually I was more upset that no shark burst into the plane and started eating them, I think was what. But I do remember there was something about them having to swim and somebody drowned or something, but it wasn't Shelley Winters, I don't think.
I could have sworn it was Shelley Winters, but I know she swam and drowned in one of the movies.
It was in Poseidon.
Or Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah, because doesn't she have that big speech where she's like, I was an Olympic swimmer, I could hold my breath for 3 minutes. And then she does it. She's like, oh, and she has this like kind of like Lynn Shay and Snakes on a Plane death scene where she's like, this old girl's been around the world, but it's time to go.
Dun, dun, dun. Poor Shelley Winters. Why do people want to hurt her?
I was just rewatching Tentacles, and I just love the way she just shows up. And I don't know I don't know why John Huston and Shelley Winters were cast in this movie as the characters they're cast as. Like, he's supposed to be this like young, like, intrepid reporter, and she's this like hot slut who like can't stop sleeping with everyone in town. It's like, and they're brother and sister, and they have like this weird like grudging relationship. I don't get it at all, that movie.
I don't get Tentacles either. I've had a lifelong love-hate relation. Well, the life of Tentacles. I was 7 when it came out, so I wasn't loving on Tentacles before that, but after Tentacles came out, I was loving on it because I loved Jaws. I loved scary movies. I was like, this is going to be really scary. It's about an octopus. And then I finally saw it and I was like, oh, it's boring. And like, they don't even show anything happening.
No, I think I think Chris is right. Like I like them both in The Visitor more. They're cast
Yeah.
more, her as like this nasty astrology obsessed maid or whatever, and he was supposed to be, I don't know, what was he, the guardian of the galaxy or something?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Right, Shelley Winters, she slapped that little girl. I always love that part where she's like, "Oh, I could never work with a Capricorn," and the girl's like, "I'm a Capricorn," and it's like, "Da-dum," and you see Shelley look up like, "This kid's gonna be trouble." Shelley Winters was in Cleopatra Jones. She played Mommy, the evil lesbian villain.
Talk about something that seemed like it was going to be a much bigger deal when you got older, astrology. Because it was the 70s and everybody was into astrology in the 70s. It seemed like, not everyone, but you would just hear it a lot more than you do now. No one speaks of astrology anymore, and that truly saddens me.
And they're also kind of anti-astrology. Like I've noticed like young people get like really perturbed. I think that because they're sort of trying to, they consider astrology to be one of those things, one of those shackles from the past that we need to shake off, like religion and racism and capitalism or whatever. And so they're like,
astrology.
I don't see what being a Gemini has to do with it. And I'm like, you judge somebody's entire existence on their Instagram profile, and you're gonna like say I'm an asshole because I said Geminis are flaky. Like whatever.
I mean, I'm not putting any stock in astrology. It's just I find it amusing when people talk about it.
The same here, but they're like, it's not a joke. Like, astrology is oppressive. So,
of course, anything that tries to fit you into a box is oppressive.
Right, unless it's your race, your identity, your whatever. Anyway, I hate young people. I could talk about this all day, but go ahead.
So, Chosen Survivors. This was kind of a tough movie to find for a long time. I don't think it was on VHS. I could be wrong about that, but I remember I had to get it as a bootleg because you just couldn't buy Chosen Survivors, Chosen Subscribers. On my TV Guide subscription came, I'm chosen. No, it was Chosen Survivors was sort of rare to find on home video. And then I guess like in the early 2000s, I think it finally came out. Someone put out a DVD.
Was it, I don't remember it growing up at all, but from the trailer, it looks like the production values are pretty decent. Is it American or is it foreign?
It's Mexican.
Oh,
it was filmed in Mexico. Yeah. So
is it filmed in Mexico like Amityville 2 or filmed in Mexico like Cementerio del Terror?
Well, sort of like the latter, because you can see it takes place in sort of like a fallout shelter type environment, and it's supposed to have metallic walls, but it might be metallic fabric stretched over boards. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, wait, it wasn't Santa Claus versus Conquers the Martians a Mexican movie too?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. They love to do the thing with just the wall and they put like Christmas paper over it or whatever and pretend that it's like a spaceship. So
this was filmed at Churubusco Studios in Mexico. And there are like some brief moments that take place outside. They're barely there. So you could kind of tell that it was either California or Mexico. So it was the latter. And I think the production values are actually pretty good in this movie. It is low budget. It's the bats are hard to do for a practical special effect. If you're not going to use, a lot of them are real bats. They used real bats in the movie. In fact, a lot of the bats that they used died. So we might be watching the origin of the bat problem that we're having right now tonight.
Oh no, is this going to be like a Tintorera Kingdom of the Spider situation where half the people are going to be upset that these animals died 40 years ago?
Yeah, it could be. It's got a great cast. Yeah, a lot of fabulous people, including Jackie Cooper. What is Jackie Cooper doing in this movie?
Who's Jackie Cooper again?
He was a child star.
Oh,
Jackie
was he
Cooper.
from the Little Rascals?
Well, let's see. What is he most well known for? Well, he started acting in 1929. Wow. So yeah, he was really young when he started, because he doesn't even look that old in this movie. He was born in 22. So he
Oh,
started
wow.
acting really young, like 7 years old.
Happy 100th birthday to Jackie Cooper.
September 15th was his birthday, 22. Yeah, 100. So that was his centenary celebration.
Oh, Beth said he's Uncle Fester. Oh, Jackie Coogan.
Now, Jackie Cooper is his name. So,
Darren wants every movie to be like Tintorera.
oh, doesn't everybody want that? I want that.
I actually think
There isn't
Tintorera is kind of sad. Like, I was watching it again, like semi-recently, and the part where they were going on the little tour of the Mayan ruins and like posing for pictures and stuff, I was watching them and I was like, well, yeah, they're so young and they just don't know how hard life is going to get yet. Like, the older I get, the more sad Tintorera becomes.
Alex Cord is also in this movie, who has kind of like a skeezy John Holmes mustache going on. He you know, I don't want to be rude to Alex Cord and say he resembled John Holmes, because he was not a good looking dude. That's not what made his film career, John Holmes. But Alex Cord still has sort of like a porny kind of look to him. You'll see it in this film, Full Tilt Boogie. He was also in that movie, The Dead or Alive, with Samantha Eggar, which was promoted, in the United States with an ad campaign that kind of made it seem like a zombie film. It wasn't. Ghost Story.
Yeah, and it was on a double feature, I think, with The Cat o' Nine Tails. I remember seeing when the Cat o' Nine Tails came out by itself and flopped, and so then they re-released it, and I think they re-released it with The Dead or Alive. And that was like a double feature for a little bit, and then I don't think that did too well either.
Yeah, it just sort of, they tried, but I thought it was kind of disingenuous. That's always on my list of movies with a poster that Sam and I should make one day. That we want to make that movie on the poster.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what I want to make? The Forest.
Which
the one from the
one?
80s. Like, the one from the 80s. Like, I want to make a really creepy slasher movie about an unseen killer running through the forest killing people with a Bowie knife, not some dumb movie about some old man and the ghost of his kids and all these like really annoying people. Like, I don't know.
So
like,
wait, are you going to make a remake of it, or is this going to be a totally new movie called The Forest?
No, I want to take a leaf from your book and like make a movie for the post.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Based on a poster for like you said, you want to make like The Dead or Alive. Like, you want to make like what you thought the poster would the movie that the poster made you believe was a movie. So.
They're Coming to Get You is the other one we always talk about. That Giallo film, All the Colors of the Dark. The US one sheet makes it look like Jawas are after. They're coming to get her.
Right. And it's based entirely on like a 30-second hallucination scene where she sees people in robes like reaching for her or whatever. It's kind of like how AIP made Lizard in a Woman's Skin look like it was a bat attack movie.
Yeah, speaking of bats, we should have shown that movie.
Yeah, but it's pretty light on the bat action.
By the way, thanks to everyone who's joining us tonight. We're really happy to see you. And if you click like and share the video, we will be even happier to see you. And if you just tuned in, Sam's not going to be on this week's program. He had some personal stuff happen. His dad passed away. So he's not going to be with us. But Sam and I will be doing a program on Monday night, 9 p.m. Halloween. We're going to watch Andy Milligan's The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Here. for now, I've got Mike Justice on the program, and we're going to watch Chosen Survivors, a movie about bat attacks. And here are some ads that we can look at. Just a beautiful little squeaker, isn't he? Don't you just want to pinch him? I like bats. Do you? I mean, we talked about it earlier. Like, I mean, you've never actually seen them, but are you afraid to see them, or do you want to see them?
I think they seem fine. They just seem sort of like squirrels with wings or whatever. I like mammals. I'm not scared of them. The only thing is, I think their wings would freak me out because it's like a platypus. It's like this weird hybrid. You know, it's like why do you have these like dragon wings on your little furry mammal body?
So I know there are some ad campaigns out there that sort of spoil the twist ending of this. This movie does have sort of a twist in it.
Does it turn out that they're not really bats?
No, people are really dead in it. It's not a pretend thing that's happening. But here's some other things that Chosen Survivors played with when theatrically. Night of the Living Dead. What?
Night of the Living Dead was basically just, oh my goodness.
And
anyone
Seamus.
Could show it.
Chosen Survivors, it was teamed with other movies that were not horror films occasionally. Sometimes there were horror double features, but they weren't afraid to pair it with an action film either. And here's a great one. Here's the eco horror angle is being played up. Naturally.
Why did they make them? Why does the bat look like an angry chimpanzee?
And that might be what they started using and just drew bat ears on it for this illustration. That's here. It's okay. So here's some more. This is
Creatures the World Forgot again.
I'm not sure what that is. That's sort of like The Land That Time Forgot in that series, maybe. It might have been the third one. And Son of Blah, we all know what that is. That's one of your faves.
Yeah, I hosted that with you guys.
Right. Was that the first one you were ever on?
Mm-hmm. And then Ms. 45, and then The Demon, and all this other stuff. And then there's just been so many.
Creatures the World Forgot was a Hammer film. Chris Visonic says that.
Is California Split like a Neil Simon thing or something? No.
I'm not sure. It looks like it could be. George Segal.
No, I'm thinking of California Sweet. Never mind. Oh, I love that.
This is more like the theatrical one sheet. I have that, by the way, the theatrical one sheet for this. After I managed, I love movies that are a little obscure and you have to hunt for them. They're getting harder and harder to find, but this was one of those movies for me anyway. I bought a bootleg that claimed to be the uncut version, and then I discovered that there wasn't anything cut out of it. Every version of it was the uncut version. This is from London, where it was paired with The Mutations, another fabulous film from 1974, a British film, but Chosen Survivors is not a British film. It's Mexican-American co-production. Oh, and I love the grainy look in this ad where it was paired.
The thing's been mimeographed like 20 times.
I just love it. I live for those moments. Speaking of that, I had to doctor this a little because the resolution was really bad, but I had to show it.
I always hated that poster because I'm like, there's a hand. Where's the person?
Yeah, we can see the shark, but not the person.
Yeah. Aren't you and Sam like all about the Thunderbird? Is that a drive-in that used to be near you or something?
No, the Thunderbird was. This is from South Carolina.
Oh, there's some. Oh, what's that one drive-in that you're always like? You have to throw in an ad from. I can't remember. I thought it was the Thunderbird.
Well, there's the Super 51. That's the one that Sam lived near, and the Spotlight 88. Those were the two drive-ins that were closest to Sam when he was growing up. And mine was the Gateway Drive-In in New Kensington, or the Sunset View Drive-In in Natrona Heights, PA. So, oh, maybe The Dependable is what you're thinking about. The Dependable drive-in with the porn movies.
I mean, it's something. I've seen Thunderbird ads before. I thought for some reason you guys had talked about it before. What is this Dual World premiere?
It premiered in 2 cities. So this one,
in 2 worlds.
another world where there are chosen survivors. See, they've done this before. That's how they know they're so good at it. Helping people be chosen to survive.
Right.
Oh, there's little Bat Face again. I just love him.
Oh yeah, wasn't that a documentary? Blue
It
Water,
is.
White Death. Yeah.
So after watching a documentary, you could watch what really happens when animals run amok.
Yeah, I think I saw that when I went through a shark phase, as I think everyone does, and
so there you go. That's our ad campaigns for our first film tonight. Chosen Survivors. Sam didn't give us a drink. He gave us drink recipes, but he didn't give us a video. So we're just gonna do our own thing tonight, you know.
Yeah, I'm just drinking wine. I was gonna drink. Oh, so there's this beer that I really like called Dawn of the Red, and the logo is sort of like a reworked Dawn of the Dead logo. And I was gonna buy some for tonight, and they replaced it with something called Sleigh Ride.
Oh no!
And I'm like, it's not even Christmas yet. Like, no, I'm not going there yet. So
this is just gonna be me opening a can of this pineapple hard cider, which is probably going to taste like shit. But...
Can you drink it with a straw?
I have makeup on. I can't drink it.
You're like in the makeup chair. You're like, you know, how people always tell stories like, I had to sit in the lunchroom and eat my lunch through a straw, and nobody on the crew wanted to sit with me because I had a hatchet sticking out of my face or whatever. Like,
I wasn't allowed to wash my clothes, so no one wanted to sit with me because I smelled so bad.
Is that like, yeah, Sissy Spacek or whatever? Like, I was covered in Caro syrup for like 2 months.
I was thinking of Gunnar Hansen on Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
God, I can't, you know, so I was going to ask you this is kind of an interesting question. If you could sort of do like a quantum leap, sort of like teleporting yourself anywhere in time to like be a part of any movie or work on any movie, like, you know, like not to take anyone's place like Quantum Leap, but if you could say you really love Texas Chainsaw Massacre and you just wanted to like go back in time and somehow get a job on that movie and actually just have the experience of like a fantasy island thing, you know, of like working on a movie, like what movie would you do?
Well, it wouldn't be Texas Chainsaw because of how notoriously awful that film set was, at least in the house where they filmed. The interiors, where it was, you know, 110 degrees outside and they had all kind of movie lights on the inside with rotting meat at the table, and everybody said that was the worst experience of their lives. So I wouldn't choose that one. I'd probably go back to, you know, something that I would regret, because I'd go back in time. You know how all these movies I love were shot in 3 days or something. It would just be there. If I chose a different movie, I could spend a month or so in the past, but I'd choose something that was only shot in 3 days, like Don't Look in the Basement or something.
Well, I was going to say, like, that would be an awesome experience, right? If you could just go back and work on Don't Look in the Basement and then come back and tell us all these stories of what it felt like to be on that set. And
I was there.
Yeah. I don't know. I probably would do like Boarding House or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd want to make sure that it didn't affect the present, that it was just kind of a fantasy island thing, because, you know, if you go back in time and you work on a movie, you might prevent some people from meeting some people. And then you come back to the present and you're just like, hey, where's Reanimator? And it's like, you messed up Reanimator because you insisted on working on this movie and you somehow prevented this person from meeting this person or whatever.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah. So I would say Halloween, but I've met John Carpenter and he's such a see you next Tuesday. I don't know if I'd want to work for him for 3 weeks, you know, so.
He does not sound like the kind of guy that you would want to meet because, you know, generally,
I don't know.
I've heard a lot of that.
A film festival hired me to be a camera guy on shooting him, like giving an introduction. They were going to show The Thing in 70 millimeter, and it was just an introduction where he was supposed to say like, "Hi, I'm John Carpenter, and this is The Thing in 70 millimeter," and then he was going to talk about the movie. And he was like rolling me the whole time, like talking about how I didn't give him anything to work with, and I didn't let him know like what can't, and like I needed to call action and cut, and I needed to take charge, and I was a big pussy. And then I'd be like, okay, fine, action. And he's like, whoa, look who suddenly like grew a set and all this stuff. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like you're like the big star director. I'm just a camera guy. Like you don't need to punch down at me, but whatever. I mean, he's not known for being a sweetheart, so.
That's not nice. Yeah.
No.
It's not nice to talk to people like that.
I still love his work though. Like afterwards, it pained me because I was like, Halloween is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I hate you, but your movies are amazing. The Thing, my God. So. Ooh, Darren wants to go work on Eyes of Laura and Mars.
Chris wants Dr. Jekyll's Dungeon of Death.
Oh God. So my dad said that he thinks they were all on drugs, that they were all on like speed or something, because they worked around the clock and they never ate, and they were just and were sort of like, I don't know. I mean, I can believe that. Have you ever seen it?
No, I don't think I have.
It's pretty unwatchable. It was kind of disappointing because I actually was a huge fan of horror movies and stuff, and an avid reader of psychotronic encyclopedia and stuff, like before I ever knew that my dad was in that movie. And I think like it would be every young horror fan's dream to suddenly realize that you have a family connection to horror. But I would have rather have had him been in like Jess Franco's Count Dracula or something, something cool, like not Dr. Jekyll's Dungeon of Death. Like nobody ever likes that movie.
Jess Franco's Count Dracula is so good.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw it at the drive-in. It's so fucking good. The only problem is they ran out of money and they didn't do a lot of things. It's one of those movies where it just rushes along to the end, and you can tell a lot of it is like a script reading. But I don't even really care. It's so atmospheric. It's so 70s, even though it's period. It's just like such a 70s film.
I think it's legitimately good. Like I watched it ironically, like, let's watch this failed attempt to like build buzz around some shitty movie and pretend that it was, a faithful adaptation. And then I was watching it and I was like, this movie's actually good. Like really enjoyed it and thought that maybe I'm insane, but I see a lot of quality here. So even though it's sort of regarded badly. Like I remember when Bram Stoker's Dracula came out and the whole buzz about it was like, this is the first real Dracula movie, not like those other stupid ones like that European one. There's a lot of scenes from Jess Franco's Dracula that were completely borrowed and restaged in Bram Stoker's Dracula, if you noticed that.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you think of any off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but when I was because I'm kind of a big stoner, so I watch these movies and I process all this stuff. But that's why I'm always saying like I haven't seen stuff. Yeah, that's why I always say I haven't seen something, and then we start watching the movie. I'm like, oh God, yeah, I remember this. But I just remember watching Jess Franco's Count Dracula and being like, oh yeah, okay, I saw that. I remember that in Bram Stoker's Dracula. I remember they did that shot. So there was a lot borrowed. I think maybe the dogs or the wolves chasing when Dracula's taking Jonathan Harker up to the castle and the wolves are like kind of chasing the carriage. I remember like that looked remarkably similar, I think, in the Jess Franco one and stuff like that. So
that whole scene was so well done in Jess Franco's, and plus it was one of the versions that actually gave us the baby eating scene, the controversial baby eating, which did they do that in Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yeah, but he takes the baby and he sort of hands it to them, and then you see them kind of descend on the baby, and then it goes to like this giant close-up of Keanu Reeves' face, and he's like, no.
The first time I ever saw the baby scene was in the BBC version of Dracula with Louis Jourdan.
Oh, yeah.
He played Dracula. That has the baby scene in it. And that was actually one of the closest to the novel that was ever filmed. It goes off the rails toward the end. they just start making things up. And a lot of the stuff with Jonathan Harker in that version is different than the book, but it's still close in a lot of other places.
There's a really good sort of deep dive YouTube video I watched where this guy uses a method of, factors to sort of decide like which Dracula adaptation is the most faithful, like based on little points that each movie hits, and I think he came down to that, like, it was like the BBC version and the Jess Franco version might have tied, or they might, because I think that, yeah, you gotta watch. I wish I could tell you more, but it was one of those things that popped up as a suggested video. So I sat and watched it, and I don't remember who did it or anything, but if you Google that, which Dracula movie is the most, on YouTube, it's a fun video.
It sounds fantastic.
I've never seen a Serbian film. Have you seen a Serbian film? I know that there's some baby drama in that movie.
I never wanted to. I don't like movies like Last House on the Left, where there's thugs torturing people and making them do horrible things. That kind of thing. It's frustrating. It was scary the first time I saw it, and I was like, okay, that's enough. I don't want to go back there.
I don't mind if it's tongue in cheek or if it's just trying to get you riled up enough that you're going to watch them get revenge, like in something like Savage Streets. But it really bugs me in movies like Funny Games, where like the director's like, oh, you don't like these boys who are torturing this family because, you want to see these boys die because you're just as bloodthirsty as the boys. And I'm like, that makes no sense. And don't you try to like, fuck you, mister. Like, trying to set us up like, the only reason why we want to see the good guys prevail is because we're just as like sadistic as the bad guys. Like, that makes no sense, Mr. Henneke or whatever his name is.
Just ask David DeFalco, who made Chaos.
Oh yeah. Yeah, most of those like sort of hopeless torture movies where it's supposed to make you feel like the futility of life, or like that the good guys aren't going to prosper or whatever. Like, I'm just an old-fashioned guy. Like, I just want to see like people, The Hills Have Eyes. Like, I'll watch you get raped and tortured enough just so that it'll make it better when you end up killing the bad guys in retaliation. Like, that's what I'm about. Like I like a happy ending. I want to see like the rapists get castrated. Like,
that's a form of that's very porny to me. Those kind of movies. It's very close to pornography, and the ID network does it 24/7. Like, every program, it's a Last House on the Left reenactment. But they'll show the survivors, if there are any. They'll show them on camera, and then they'll show them again, but being portrayed by actors and being in these horrible Chaos, Last House on the Left scenarios where they somehow manage to survive. It's just maddening. After watching that for so long, you just have a really low opinion of the world.
Yeah, as if like just watching the news didn't do it for you. I know what you mean. It's like I'm definitely one of those, like, I'm not one of those people that thinks that movies shouldn't have subtext. Like, I hate when people are like, I don't like this movie because it was political, and I'm like, well, you must not like George Romero movies either. But I do like
horror is political.
Yeah, but I also like escapism. Like, I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, let's have it. Like, it doesn't have to be a happy ending, because I do like hopeless endings, like The Beyond or something. Stuff like that, or like the ending of Planet of the Apes is really good. I do like endings where it's sort of like everything is fucked up, but maybe not where like evil necessarily prevails as much as it does, or it's just hopeless to try to like be a good guy. Like, that's sort of depressing.
Chosen Survivors has an ending like that. Well, maybe not an ending. Like I said, there's a twist, and I'm not going to spoil it because I know there's a lot of people that haven't seen it, including you. So I'll talk more about that later when we come back. But as for now, maybe we should get to the movie.
You want to start the movie? I have nothing else. Have you watched anything recently?
Oh, I watch all my Halloween faves every year. The Child, Halloween itself, the Brady Bunch Fright Night episode. Okay.
What's that? Is that the one where they have the slumber party and the boys play tricks on them?
Yeah. You're thinking of the right thing. It's not a slumber party. First, the boys scare the girls with a
Right.
ghost that they project out onto the lawn. And
Right.
then the girls figure out exactly what happened and how they did it. And they vow to get back. See, it's a revenge segment. It's a revenge piece.
Right.
They decide to get back at the boys, and they come up with this brilliant scheme where they dare them to sleep in the haunted attic. And then when they're up there, they rig this ghost to come out of a chest. It's like a laundry bag on a wire hanger, and it floats up out of it. That's one of my and then everyone scares Alice in it. They all turn on Alice.
When I was a kid, I used to have like VHS tapes of Halloween themed sitcoms. Like every time I'd just tape all October of every sitcom and I for years had, you know, Halloween episodes from sitcoms that were long gone, long canceled. Like there was this one called, I think it was called High Spirits or something. And it was sort of like this Bewitched remake set in the 80s with this actress who had been on the sitcom ER. I forget what her name is, and there was a Halloween episode of that. The Halloween episode of Kate and Allie, I remember being a big fan of. Stuff like that. And like
Heart to
Halloween. I don't know. I don't think Heart to Heart they wouldn't rerun when I was a kid. I mean, I saw them new, but once I got old enough to start taping stuff, I think Heart to Heart was out of rotation. Yeah.
There's a Heart to Heart, at least one Heart to Heart Halloween episode where they go to a costume party. And of course there's a murder there.
Oh yeah. You know what I loved? What I loved so much as a kid was the Halloween episode of Chips where Donnie Most, I think is his name, plays like a Kiss style singer in makeup they're trying to assassinate him. Have you ever seen that?
No, but that sounds fucking amazing.
So Ponch and John are sort of like dispatched to protect this rock star who's, you know, that his manager is trying to kill him on stage so that his record sales will go through the roof. And meanwhile, Elvira is hanging around the police station for no reason, and they keep getting excited and be like, duh, there's Elvira in the next room. And then they go in there and like she's in the, you know, like gone or whatever. And then finally at the end, I think Ponch has a date with her or something, or they meet up at like the policeman's ball and they do a tango.
Halloween themed cartoons on MeTV this morning. Did we miss it, Paul? Are you talking about this morning, or are you warning us that it'll be tomorrow? Let's see. What else do I watch at Halloween? I've just been posting. Oh, Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. That's one of my favorite Hammer Dracula films. It's just beautiful to look at. It's brilliantly realized. The sets are amazing. Just levels and levels in a single house. There's like, you know, a main floor, a cellar, and then you go even deeper into a sub basement, and there's Dracula's coffin. It's amazing.
I just watched Halloween Ends for the second time the other day. Yeah.
And
you know, I like it and I don't. And it's like there's elements of it that are really, really, really well done and really likable. It's just that I don't know. It's such a weird mashup. It's such a bizarre movie. It's like they basically remade Christine, but had Michael Myers play the car. And I like the Christine part. Like, I actually think Halloween Ends would have been good if they would have just gotten rid of Michael Myers and got rid of Laurie and just had it been about the boy dating Allison and becoming evil and starting to kill people in her life who are bullying her. And maybe instead of Michael Myers, they could have been like this really cool car, but maybe it wouldn't be obviously as cool. Like maybe it could be like a 1968 Lotus Cortina or something that's making him kill people. Like I really like that guy. I think he's a really like appealing, kind of funny looking, like non-traditionally attractive young actor. Like, so yeah, but I mean, as a Halloween movie, no, it was kind of a disappointment, but I don't know. I really liked Halloween Kills, and I had to listen to everybody last year shitting on Halloween Kills and shitting on me and saying that like people who like Halloween Kills are beneath contempt. So I was like,
oh, come on.
Like, no, it was like, I tried to defend Halloween Kills, and it was like, I was telling people that, Trump has a point or something. Like, I was like, I actually think Halloween Kills kind of reminds me of Halloween 2. They said Halloween 2 was too graceless and violent when it came out. And they're like, no, you do not associate Halloween 2 2 with Halloween Kills.
Oh God, yeah, I love it when people defend Halloween 2. You can always
Mhm.
tell because they're not old enough to remember the reaction to Halloween 2 when it came out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I liked Halloween 2, but when Halloween 2 came out, everybody was so disappointed. And they were like, the first one was just this perfect little suburban paranoia crime thriller. Why did they do a sequel with this bloody, graceless, chaotic, awful thing with
Yeah,
cardboard characters and blood? And I was like, oh, okay, I see your point. And that's exactly what they said about Halloween Kills later. They're like, where did this piece of shit come from? It's like, you were all saying the same thing in 1982, right? It's like, get on board with it. The sequel to a successful, subtle Halloween movie is always going to be some out of control slasher movie.
yeah, it's not a bad thing. I just
Yeah.
there are movies that some movies aren't for me, but that doesn't mean they're not for other people because most of the movies I watch are what other people call shit. So I
Yeah,
can
well,
get
I know,
over
I
it.
know how you feel about that because I mean, I have no intention of continuing with the Scream series. Um,
I'm
I really
bored with
liked
it.
I mean, I know that you guys don't think much of it, but I love the first
Sam
couple of
doesn't. I
Screams.
like it.
Well, I'm their age. I was right in that zeitgeist. Like, I am Sydney and Prescott's age and
Hmm.
everything. And like the minute they started aging those characters out, like by the time Scream 4 came around and Sydney Prescott is like this frumpy 32-year-old or whatever, and like it's all about the kids. And then by the time like the new one came out and my like 25-year-old coworker's like, I would go see it. I just don't understand why they keep feeling the need to shoehorn the old people in there. I'm like, you mean the people who are my age, who were the stars of this franchise, like when I was your age?
It
Yeah, the
hurts,
old
doesn't it?
people. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm not, if they actually continued Scream and just made it like this Gen X series where we were just watching 40 and 50-year-olds getting stalked and killed, I would continue watching it. But fuck the teenager angle. Like, I'm done. I'm checked out. Vocal
Yeah, exactly.
polyps.
Exactly.
Mrs. Elrod is not a cardboard character. She makes sandwiches. I know, right? And she's actually like a really respected actress. I love that they just brought her in to just like have this like
Lucille
nothing
Benson.
role. Yeah, but you know what? She probably made more money on that than she did on anything else.
It,
I actually really like Halloween too. I mean, I think it's bad, but I also like Halloween Kills. I like slasher movies, and like all these grim allegories and stuff about like transference of evil. Like me. Like just
okay,
show me a
Billy
crazy.
Friedkin.
Yeah, it's like when did Lori become Yoda? She's all of a sudden the expert on how evil will transcend and evil will like get bigger. And it's like you're a nerdy little girl who used to like babysit and like got A's in English class. Like all of a sudden now you're this guru who knows like just stop. Like
Yeah.
Girls Night Out is amazing. Love that movie.
I did like Halloween 2, by the way. I love Halloween 2, and it was a big deal to me even when it came out. I was disappointed that Laurie wasn't in it more because we all wanted some more Laurie. We thought the movie was going to be about Laurie, and I remember reading in Fangoria before it came out. I guess this would have been 1980 or early 1981, where John Carpenter was talking about doing a sequel to Halloween because I'm sure people were already asking him for a sequel, like right after Halloween started to overperform at the box office. They're like, can we have another one? But he was
Oh
talking
yeah.
about doing it in a high-rise apartment. He's like, it's going to be about Laurie. She's living in a high-rise apartment. I guess this was an early treatment, but obviously
Yeah.
they didn't go with that one.
That would have been sick. Like a combination of what was that movie he made with Lauren Hutton, I think? Like was it Lauren Hutton? It was like the TV
Someone is
movie where
watching me.
yes, that was actually really good and really scary and like a Halloween 2 that I didn't yeah. I mean, I remember I liked Halloween 2. I was 5 when Halloween 2 came out. So I was an easy customer, like it just picked and it especially since it
For the
picked up
rest of the
right.
show, don't ever tell me you feel old.
No, but yeah, I went to go see it in the theater when I was 5. My mom and my aunt took me and on a double feature with American Werewolf in London. And I remember having to suffer through American Werewolf in London to get to Halloween too, because I was just like, oh God. Now, of course, I think American Werewolf in London is probably a better movie, but I don't know. How did you feel about Halloween 4?
I don't like it. I've watched it maybe about 4 or 5 times, and I'm never gonna like it. I just don't think it's boring. I love the Halloween atmosphere in it. I love the opening credits are the best thing in it.
Yeah. I
Just
was actually talking to the David Assassino about this. Why didn't they just make the protagonists in Halloween 4 Lindsay and Tommy?
I don't know.
Like, it would have been a cooler connection to the original. Like, they invent these new characters. Here's Rachel, here's Brady. It's like, if you just call them Lindsay and Tommy, it would be so much cooler of a sequel. But I like Halloween 4. Halloween 5 is weird. Halloween 6 is disappointing.
Yeah, I th- I haven't
When
watched
did you when did you check out of
of
Halloween?
Halloween.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie's Halloween. I was like, that was the last time. Well, Halloween Resurrection, really. It was because I loved H20. I thought H20 was great, except for the Scream-esque. It was trying too hard to be like Scream, so it would be profitable for sure. And the kids and everything. I wasn't interested in Michelle Williams and Josh Hartnett, the kids, but the Laurie stuff in it was so good, and it was exactly what we wanted. She gets him. She's battles him to the death, and it was almost plausible the way it's of course ridiculous, but the way they make it look plausible on camera, and you're like, okay, this is it. She has him, and she cuts his fucking head off. That's the end. That's where it ends for me,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I choose to believe that was the truth. The rest of this is just baloney.
Yeah. It's kind of gotten to this point where it's kind of a choose your own adventure. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's totally within your rights to pick and choose movies because they've already told you, like, okay, wait, this one takes place after part 2. Okay, this one you get rid of part 2. So you can actually just like, my Halloween, I guess, is, I would say Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O. And then maybe I'm going to say that, like, as a little bonus, I'm going to say that in a little, I like Halloween 4. I think Halloween 4 is cool. I was really excited when it came out, I remember, and I don't remember feeling disappointed by it like I did when I saw Halloween 5. And I was just like, oh God, when did the Myers place turn into some Salt Lake City mansion,
It can happen when you're not looking.
Right.
All of a sudden, you're the Myers house.
Yeah.
And I guess I should retract that statement I made earlier, because I do like Rob Zombie's Halloween too. I thought that was an interesting. It's not good per se. Like, I don't know if I ever want to watch it again, because I don't like his Michael Myers, who's just a truck that runs people over. And there isn't much nuance or suspense in his movies. But Halloween 2 was an interesting concept because it was all him. Finally,
Yeah.
like, there was no story he had to follow. He sort of like did a little shout out to 81 Halloween 2 at the beginning of the film, but other than that, it just sort of goes off in its own direction, and I like that about it. And the weird Italian horror stuff he brought with the white horse, I liked that
Yeah.
stuff. I thought it was pretty good.
What's the guy who plays Michael Myers in that? Tyler Mane,
Tyler
I think.
Mane.
Have you ever met him?
No, have you?
He's oh my God.
9
He's
feet
like,
tall.
he's 9 feet tall, and he's kind of imposing, and he's like, I don't know. I think I don't understand why we're not all talking about what a hot piece of snatch Tyler Mane is. Like,
Ooh.
yeah,
I
no, I
like
was
the
like,
big boys.
yeah, no, he's just very imposing. I was like, hi. But yeah, yeah. Otherwise, I'd like, I don't know. I thought I didn't see Halloween 2. I didn't see his Halloween 2. I saw his Halloween 1, and I thought it was okay. Oh, Halloween 3.
Yeah, we assumed you knew we loved that, Paul Dolliner.
Love it now. When it came out, I was like, what are you doing? Masks.
That's how everyone felt.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I can't remember what I thought of Halloween 3 when I first saw it. I knew it wasn't going to be a Michael Myers movie, so because I actually did read Fangoria and I paid attention. So I already knew.
Right.
I was 12
Yeah.
years old, and I knew what Halloween 3 was going to be about already.
Yeah. I knew it too, but I never wanted to watch it again. So, I watched it, And I don't think I've ever seen Halloween 3 after the first time that I watched it on VHS in like 1983 or whenever it came out. Or maybe like scattershot half watched viewings on USA or something. But it's not like something like, say, Night of the Creeps or something where I was just like, okay, that's immediately going into the classics. It's going into the rotation. Like
No, it grows
me
on
in
you.
this movie. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going to say something really unpopular. I just don't think Tommy Lee Wallace is a very good director. Like, I did not like Fright Night 2. I did not like the TV series or the TV movie of It. Like, he does not do it for me. So I'm going to duck because I know that Halloween 3's fans are like, they're going to die on that hill. But
No, I know it's not a great movie. I mean, it's not a greatly made film, I guess. It doesn't work. But I love things like that, like beautiful broken things. And that is definitely Halloween 3. It's just so bizarre. It's got this sort of like secret agent spy element to it. There's witchcraft, melting children, insects, bizarre insects and snakes. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I love that little like that test room that they set people up in, to watch the video, and then their heads explode. But it's set up like there's something about it. It kind of reminded me of Twilight Zone, the movie, or something. Like, I feel like during that era there was a lot of like, let's make what people consider to be normal Americana into something completely terrifying that's going to kill you. So there was like a little thing there, and I was always like, okay, like Strange. What was that movie that came? Strange Behavior.
Strange Behavior.
Yeah, like I feel like that's in the same genre as Halloween 3. Although Sam thinks that Halloween 3 takes place in the same universe as Messiah of Evil, right?
Yes, because it's that weird sort of possessed small town element
By the
of
beach,
Santa Mira,
right?
which happens
Okay,
to
let's
be
watch.
the same place that the body snatchers attacked. The masks came for you too.
Oh yeah. Okay, we're gonna watch the bats.
Yes, this movie is about vampire bats. That's really all I'm going to say. You probably already know too much. It's best to just go into Chosen Survivors, brand spanking new, tabula rasa. So, Chosen Survivors, the link is in chat. Lee, you asked earlier. I shared it again, so I'm assuming you got it. If anyone doesn't have it, just go to YouTube. Chosen Survivors 1974 would be the video that you want to look for. And you know what to do. Start your movie at the end of the countdown, and we'll all be in about the same place. Come back afterwards, and Mike Justice and me will have more to say about bats on the Drive-In Asylum double feature.